Okay, let's now focus and switch gears on some big games coming up in the Premier League this weekend. First up, Fulham against Arsenal. And this, to me, Andy, just straight off the bat, this is the type of game that you have to win if you want to be Premier League champions. Is that fair enough? This is the London derby at Craven Cottage. Fulham been playing well. I'm going to be there for Pro Soccer Talk on Sunday. Really looking forward to that. But I guess it's about, how much do we believe in this Arsenal team? Because at the moment, it seems like destiny is kind of pushing them towards a Premier League title. But this is going to be another tough test for them against Fulham. And all of the games remaining are going to be tough for them. We know that, and they're getting through it just about right now. But this is a huge chance for them to kind of just kick on once again and say, look, everybody keeps saying this is going to be a big test for us, but we keep flying over these hurdles just about. So what do you expect from Fulham Arsenal this weekend?
Yeah, I got to say, it's really annoying the way that they keep passing these tests and the manner in which they're doing it, right? You go a goal down after 11 seconds or 9 seconds against Bournemouth last weekend, and it feels like, okay, a 2-2 draw, as disappointing or as frustrating as that is, I'll take it, and Manchester City obviously would have taken that to close the gap by 2 points, and then Reece Nelson does what he does in the 97th minute. That felt like one of those moments that you just talked about, a result that you just have to find a way to steal, to grind out if you're going to be Premier League champions. Obviously, you can't lose to a relegation candidate side at any point if you want to be champions, but to do it in the manner that they did, we talk about the mood and the vibes around Spurs right now. It's completely polar opposite for Arsenal at the moment because of moments like that, and those moments are possible because everybody is pulling in the same direction. And Mikel Arteta has done a fantastic job to get everybody on side this season, and doing so, continuing to do so without Gabriel Jesus, who is getting closer to returning from the knee injury that he suffered at the World Cup. So, yeah, it's a tricky matchup, I think, with Fulham, because Fulham, stylistically, they're really good on the ball, and they can take the air out of the game just a little bit if you allow them to. But I don't think Arsenal are going to allow them to. I think they're going to press high the way that Brentford did last weekend, caused them all kinds of trouble, especially in the first 10 minutes of the game. Fulham were very lucky to not be 2 or 3 goals down early in that one. I was covering that one for PST. So there is potential either, I think, for for Fulham to kind of grind out a bit of a not boring, but an uneventful draw in this game, or Arsenal just completely overwhelm them from the start. And I think I would probably lean towards the latter in this one.
How much do we believe in Arsenal then? We had to give them a percentage chance right now. They're 5 points clear heading into this weekend at the top of the table. Man City are just breathing down their neck all the time. They still have to play City, of course, at the Etihad between now and the end of the season. So how much do we believe in their title chances percentage-wise? I'm probably at the moment give them a 50% chance of winning. Is that fair enough, or maybe a little bit too high?
Is it a little bit too low? They are 5 points clear with a dozen games. And I know they still have to play City once, and they've lost to them twice already this season in a couple of different competitions. But I think it's more about City as well than it is about Arsenal, because I keep expecting Manchester City to turn into Manchester City and to just steamroll everybody in their way, and they just kind of don't. They let teams hang around in ways that they haven't done in the past. And Arsenal have shown a ruthlessness that I think we have associated with Manchester City and Liverpool as well in recent seasons that we've not seen from Arsenal in a long time. And so it just feels like the combination of those two things, you can say, well, it's City's title that they're losing or Arsenal's title that they're winning. It doesn't matter at this point. There's a dozen games to go in the season. And so I think I would probably sit somewhere between 55 and 60, I think, for Arsenal, even if City beat them. Because City will get up for that game, by the way. They will not no-show that game against Arsenal head-to-head. But they will do so probably 2 or 3 more times against much lesser teams in the league between now and the end of the season, especially if they're still in Champions League, into the quarterfinals and the semifinals. There's something missing about this Manchester City team. And I think that whatever that factor is, that feel-good factor and that destiny factor that you talked about, I think it's abundantly present at Arsenal. And to go back to my original point, it's very annoying.
Spoken as a true Tottenham fan there. I can tell the pain in your voice. But when it comes to Fulham, I mean, they have the ability to cause an upset. We've seen it all season long. They weren't at it, like you said, against Brentford. Quite susceptible to the high press. They just couldn't get out. But you're right. When they get a chance to spray the ball around, be comfortable, especially at home. I feel like when the crowd get on top there and they put the ball wide, whipping crosses for Mitrovic. Having Palinia back will be a big boost. But top 6, do you think that's actually achievable for Fulham this season? They've got some big teams around them, Liverpool, Newcastle dropping, Tottenham Hotspur dropping a little bit. It feels like they can hang in there, but that's just my opinion. So what do you think about Fulham? What's your take on them?
Yeah, they'll remain in the conversation, I think, for probably most of the rest of the season. But I'm looking at the 2 games in hand for Newcastle as being a pretty big factor in that equation there. And just the fact that Newcastle, for as kind of lackluster maybe they've been in recent weeks, there is a baseline of quality that exists there with Newcastle. And I just don't think the performances dip below a certain level. And I think that probably ultimately will be will be enough to get them to either a 5th place or 6th place finish, depending on what Spurs and Liverpool do, just a little bit ahead of them. But I mean, whether or not they finish 6th this season, or they finish 7th or 8th, or even if they slip to 9th or 10th, what an incredible season coming back up to the Premier League. Because I mean, we remember the last time they were in the league, and it was atrocious. It was, there was so much promise because of all the money spent and the players signed, and it just didn't come to fruition. There was no plan. There was no direction for the club other than, hey, we're in the Premier League. We have a lot of money to spend now, so we're going to spend it. They've really put together a cohesive unit. Marco Silva's done a fantastic job, and they play an incredible style that's really, really fun to watch, and on their day gives them a chance to upset just about anybody in the league.
For Arsenal, the one issue I have, and maybe why I didn't give them a higher percentage chance of winning this league, is that recently those little defensive errors have just started creeping back in a little bit from set pieces, how they were caught out early on against Bournemouth, which some people say was a bit of a freak, but it was poor defending, I think, and just a bit lapse. And I do kind of worry about that Arsenal. Whenever you think, oh, they figured it out, they're so much better at the back, they drop a bit of a clanger, and it's just, until they stop doing that, I still will have these reservations. And I think probably Mikel Arteta and even the Arsenal players themselves will have a little bit of those reservations. They'll believe that they can win every game, but there is still something in the back of my mind where it's like, games against Fulham and Crystal Palace coming up the next couple of weekends. These are games really, like I said at the very top, you have to be winning these games if you're going to win the Premier League, because I'm pretty sure Man City, for the most part, are going to take care of business from here on out, and they're just clicking through the gears a bit ominously. Not textbook City, not peak City, but we saw against Newcastle for them last time out. There's an energy back and a determination about them where you feel like they're going to grind out a lot of these 1-0, 2-0 wins between now and the end of the season. All right, score predictions and key battle in this game. I think Mitrovic against Gabriel and William Saliba is going to be intriguing to see what happens there. But prediction-wise, are we going with a big Arsenal win?
Maybe not big. 2-1. Fulham will hang around in this game because of what they can do possession-wise and playing at home. I think give them a little bit more confidence. They'll be fully rested compared to Arsenal, who have Europa League on Thursday. So there are some factors that I think you can put together and say, well, Fulham could cause them a bit of issue in this game. But ultimately, the quality, and I like your point there about the defense. It feels like they are supremely confident, perfectly confident going forward. But at the back, there are still some questions about players that have just never done it at that level, whether it's Gabriel, whether it's even Ben White, who's been fantastic this season. It just feels like there is potential for a moment or two per game, and can teams pounce on that or not? But I'll go 2-1 to Arsenal.
That's good. I'm going to go, I think, another 3-2. I think Fulham will actually go for it, but I think Arsenal will just pop up and win a thriller. So maybe that's just because I'm going to the Cottage and I'm really hoping for a dramatic game to write about and talk about on Pro Soccer Talk. But remember, head over to the website for all the latest news, how to watch information, preview, reaction and analysis live from the Cottage this Sunday as Fulham take on Arsenal in a big London derby for both teams in their season, as Fulham look to stay in the European hunt. Can't believe I'm saying that, but fair play to Fulham. And Arsenal look to stay 5 points clear, at least at the top of the table. It's going to be a good one in West London.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.